All right, welcome in everybody. This is Happy Hour Sports News Show. It's gonna be a nice little crossover with my boy Big Sarge. Say what's up, Sarge.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Greetings from H-Town, Texas.
So this is gonna be a new show. So this is gonna be called Duval versus Yall. So we like to say Duval versus all y'all down here. So Duval versus Yall is gonna be a nice crossover. We're gonna do once a week, kind of matching up between we our nice friends in Houston this week, but every week we're gonna be doing that on either Tuesdays or Thursdays. But appreciate Sarge. I want to give him a big shout out here. He is with Big Sarge Media and USA Today, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Covering the Texans, and if you're a basketball fan, the Houston Rockets as well.
Yep.
Real quick take, how do you feel about the Rockets this year?
Oh man, I think that the Rockets are going to be really good. It's sad that they lost their starting point guard, Fred VanVleet, but once they can get themselves acclimated to playing in the system that they're in, and anytime you got Kevin Durant on the floor, your odds of winning are very well.
Nice, man. Yeah, we're Magic fans down here, so we're a little rough start, but we're getting there.
I like Paulo, man. Paulo can hoop. He can hoop.
Yeah, we got some boys, so we'll get there. But yeah, Jags Texans this week. First off, really just want to go through kind of the last two games for both of us, right? So let's start with Houston. So Houston just came off of a tough loss against the Denver Broncos. A game, sealing kick to beat them. I think it was 18-15. And Jags just pulled out a nail biter against the Raiders, which I think we all thought it was going to be a close game, but we were hoping it wasn't. But it was a semi bounce back game for us. But yeah, let's start with the Texans. What was your initial thoughts on the last game?
So one thing that happened to the Texans is the same thing that's happened to them 5 times this season. They have a record of 3-5, and they keep losing these one-score games. They keep, the defense, which is top 5, number 1 in the league. Their defense always keeps them in the games, but the offense can never seem to keep up with what the defense is doing. They can't seem to keep up with the defensive intensity. And this game is a little bit different. This last game is a little bit different because of the loss of C.J. Stroud to concussion, and to their starting right tackle, which is the best lineman that they have in Titus Howard, took concussion as well. And so, Davis Mills came in. And sometimes I wonder when those backup quarterbacks, they be like, nah, this ain't happening for real, is it? No, I didn't even get my family tickets.
I'll give you some good news. Usually backup quarterbacks do pretty good against Jacksonville. So that might be a blessing in disguise going into this week.
Hey, man, look, hopefully so for the Texans fans, because the way that Davis Mills played last week, and I'm going to give him a pass, because you can't just come off the bench and be ready to play like that when you're not ready to play. Yeah. And, I told somebody the other day, it was like, I haven't ran full speed since 2010. And I remember that was 15 years ago. I remember exactly when I pulled my hamstring. And so I haven't ran full speed, and I can imagine that's what it's like for backup quarterbacks coming into the game, that fresh and haven't played in a while. And so I'll give him a pass on that. I'll even give, Nick Caley some sort of a pass, because your playbook is designed and predicated behind the talents of C.J. Stroud. Now you're like, look, now you're getting your playbook and you're like, God dang it, where are those plays for Davis Mills at? Hey, somebody run to my cubicle and get the playbook plays for Davis Mills. I left them on the counter because I didn't think I was gonna need them. So
yeah, I feel you. Well, like I said before, the good news is you're playing Jacksonville this week, where we've predominantly struggled with backup quarterbacks. So maybe they'd simplify things for him and get him going. But yeah, I think that defense you guys have is tough. That's
Yeah,
the number one scare that we have going into it as well. Jags bounced back a little bit too against the Raiders.
yeah.
It was an ugly first half and entertaining second half going into overtime too. So from the outside looking in too, what's your initial thoughts on Jacksonville? I mean, you guys are what 3-6 right
Yeah.
now?
3-5.
3-5.
But they
Sorry,
had a
I'm
bye week
going
in week
ahead of
6.
myself.
Yeah, they right. So my initial thoughts on Jacksonville is that I am a Trevor Lawrence fan. I do. I just think that he's been under a lot of adversity, as since he's been in Jacksonville. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I hope you don't take this as a shot, but bang bang. Um, that franchise has normally hasn't had success in a very long time, and
Mhm.
bring someone who has had the success that he had in college into that situation, and then I mean, you pair him up with Urban Meyer. Come on now, myself. Are you
We're
serious right
trying to we're trying to guess the college success down here too, big Gator Nation too. So I
Yeah,
think we're trying to pair that, but didn't go well.
yeah, I mean, because Urban was like, "Hey, bro, I'm going to this college campus. You want to roll with me? I got a bar up there, but that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. But I do like Jacksonville. I do like their offensive identity. I am sad that because I don't travel to Jacksonville. That's the one place I do not travel, and that's just a story and a conversation we're going to have offline. But I don't
You gotta
travel.
know where to go in Jacksonville. It's a good time. There's plenty of nice places. They're just scattered. That's all.
Right, and so I didn't get a
Stay out of
chance
the
to
west side. You'll
see
be fine.
I didn't get a chance to see Travis Hunter play, so
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing him play this week, and unfortunately, he's not there anymore. And
Yeah.
I think that so I do think that you all have a good quarterback. I do think that you have a very very good wide receiver, and I think that you all just got another wide receiver in a trade coming from the
Yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders and Jacoby Myers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
That
so
was
I
a
think that
big one for us. Getting somebody that can actually catch the ball at the wide receiver position. That's been our Achilles heel the whole year. So
yeah, so
getting
I
him was a big pickup.
For sure. So, and I do. So what I'm saying is that I do like watching Jacksonville play, and I think that it's going to be, a very good game. That's what my initial thoughts. My initial thoughts are two teams who are in a battle to try to catch the Indianapolis Colts, who just got better on
Yeah.
today as
CJ
well.
or
And so,
Sauce.
so
That
that
was
that
that
was
was a wild one. I thought they were gonna get Trey Hendricks. It did I we're recording this at 4:15 right now. So,
yeah,
did Trey go anywhere? Is he still in Cincinnati?
that's a good question. I had nothing that's come across my wire just yet, and
Because
so
I thought for sure I pictured him in a Colts jersey, not
yeah,
willingly, but I thought that would happen, but guess they
they're
liked,
going for it.
Sauce better. Yeah.
What I will say is this real quickly is that I do think that with the Texans having their backs up against the wall, I think they're going to come out. They're going to come out fighting because they know that if they do not get this game, their season is over. So watching the way that you the
Jag.
Jacksonville Jaguars were able to win last week, I'm getting ahead of myself because now all these trade scenarios are running through my
Yeah.
mind. But watching the way that they were able to win against the Raiders last week, I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Texans are in a very similar spot that kind of Jacksonville was in last week. I know we were coming into it 4-3, but if you felt the vibes around Jacksonville the last 2 weeks after losing to, badly against the Seahawks and then the Rams, which I guess are pretty good teams, so we
Yeah.
can't be too down, but we just weren't competitive. We had the bye week and then we lost Travis Hunter. For it, we got some good news today. Sounds like he might be tailing towards the end of the year or
Mhm.
tracking for the end of the year to come back. Maybe the last like 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. So that'd be great. But yeah, then we get that news that was deflating, and then we played with a lot of injuries in this last game too, and kind of like what we all decided here as like is a must win because the Raiders, all respect to them, they have Max Crosby and
Yeah.
Brock Bowers. That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
And we kind of held Max Crosby. I think the offensive line really had a bounce back week this week, but Brock Bowers went off on us, and we didn't really help ourselves at the trade deadline either, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I think you guys are in a very similar spot. I think it's a must win for you guys at home against a division rival to stay in the hunt. You know what I mean? Because if you guys go to 3-6, it might be a tough, especially without CJ Stroud. With CJ Stroud going down, I know it was concussion, but was it is and also your right tackle too, you mentioned. But is there a timeline on that? Is he just initial protocol where it's like week to week kind of thing?
So on Monday, we had an opportunity to speak with D'Amico Ryans, and he said that he had talked to CJ, and CJ was in good spirits, but they're still evaluating. And so I don't think that
Okay.
we'll actually get a clear cut answer until Friday, because in order for him to clear concussion protocol, he has to go through 2 practices without any symptoms and be evaluated by an independent doctor. And so they go Tuesday is their off day. They go back to work on Wednesday. And so if we see him out there Wednesday, then that's a really good sign. But it's one of those things, because when Nico Collins went down with the same type of injury as far as concussion is concerned, when they played against
Mhm.
the Seahawks, he looked like he was able to play, but they set him out another week against the 49ers. And so I with the way that CJ hit his head, the way that he went down, it's probably right now, I would say about a 30% chance of him playing in this game this Sunday.
Yeah, I I think there's been a big conversation. Well, there's two different ones here. We'll
Yeah.
we'll start with the hit because we're just talking about it. But CJ Stroud versus Trevor Lawrence, it kind of pairs well. So, um, what are your takes? What's your take on the hit last year with your boy Aziz? We talked about it a little bit before the pod too. So,
Mm.
what do you think is kind of your mindset seeing both plays? Last year happened to Trevor, this year happened to CJ. Now we obviously don't want to wish that on anybody, of course, but what is I felt like when I saw that, not that I don't want any player hurt, but he hit him squarely in the chest, and it was kind of coming from behind a different angle where I didn't think it was as intentional. I think maybe last year there's a lot of debate around Jacksonville, what was intentional, what wasn't. But yeah, what's your take coming from Houston?
So last year when Aziz hit Trevor, it was one of those things where I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm watching it and I'm watching it and I'm watching it. And then I went back and I watched the replay and I watched it and I watched it and I watched it even before, while all the melee was going on. I was like, okay, I got to see this play one more time. Well, a couple of more times. And
Mhm.
so it's crazy. And I know that your supporters, the fans of your show is going to kill me in my comment section. But I don't think that Aziz's hit was dirty. I just think it was late. I think
I
that it was
agree.
late. I think that he's seen Trevor, and Trevor's also known for being able. Trevor Lawrence is like Patrick Mahomes Jr., who will get to the sideline but drop the shoulder on you too, or hit you, or act like he's going out of bounds. And so I seen Trevor sliding late, but I also seen Aziz hitting him late. And so I did not think that it was a dirty hit. And I may be a little biased because I do talk to Aziz and I know from talking to Aziz. So like before that game,
Personality.
yeah, before that game
Yeah.
even took place early in the year, I was talking to Aziz, and he said we were talking. This was the first game against the Indianapolis Colts, and I was talking about playing against Anthony Richardson. I was like, "What is it like going up against a quarterback who is the size of a linebacker?" And he
Mhm.
says, "Hey, he's a very hard guy to hit." He said, "But the one thing that I always tell him is, he said, you got to learn to slide." He said, "That's the very first thing I told him. You've got to learn to slide, or you're going to get yourself hurt in this league." And he says that I never go into a game trying to intentionally hurt a quarterback. I,
Mhm.
I, I try my best to make sure that I play within the rules and not hurt him. He said, but I also got to be physical. And so, as I digress, that hit that Aziz put on Trevor, I thought that it was a late hit. I thought that Trevor Lawrence slid late, and that's what the bang bang play was.
Mhm.
Fast forward to the game on Sunday between the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans. I thought that the hit was clean. I just thought that it was late as well. And CJ doesn't know how to slide. I'm going to be honest with you. He does not know
Okay.
how to slide. If you go back and listen to the press conference that they had after the 49ers game, he said that we were talking about him getting out of the pocket and using his legs. He said, "Yeah, and I had to get down one time, or I had my head taken off." He said, "Shout out
Mhm.
to one of the coaches that's teaching him how to slide." So if you go back and look at that play, he's trying to slide. It's a late slide. It's an awkward slide. But by the same token, I felt like the defender seen CJ sliding or attempting to slide, and he still went. When I watched the trajectory of where he's hitting CJ, that lets me know, he's trying to get down. All you have to do, if you see him getting down, just let the other player that's right there either tackle him or touch him. So I thought that the hit was late.
Yeah, and I want to preface this too. I don't think, even though a lot of people in Jacksonville would say he is a dirty player,
Yeah,
I do think he's just he's a great athlete. By the way, I saw
yeah,
him in person in that game, in the revenge game that we had here in Jacksonville. Your linebackers, the whole defense flies around like crazy, super
yeah.
physical, like really fun to watch. I like him personally, like in my opinion, I think he's a really good player. I think he's one of the best linebackers in the league. And I do think that even though a lot of people here think it was a dirty play, I do think it is a bang bang play to a sense. I think what you said is right. Like I don't think, in seeing the interviews, like I watched a handful of interviews after
Mhm.
that happened to him. Or sorry, after the play that happened to Trevor last year, interviews with Aziz. Also, when it happened against CJ last week too, I watched a few of the press conferences, and I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think
Yeah.
he's a, who can was it perfect? Like, who was like a headhunter back in the day?
Yeah, Montez
Like that was
Burfict.
like, he's dirty. He's
Yeah,
trying to hurt somebody.
for sure.
I don't think he's like that. So it was interesting though to see that. I was at the bar watching the Jags game, and out of the corner of my eye, I was like, oh, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
So it was a bang bang play as well, but yeah, it was interesting to see. What do you think as far as the overall, like, big picture argument for Trevor Lawrence versus CJ Stroud? Now, try to be unbiased, and I'll try to be unbiased as well. Where do you think their games are maybe similar? Where do you think they kind of different? Maybe set themselves apart, and who do you think has like the better overall game?
You're really trying to set me up, right? You're really trying to see if you could get me caught up in my comments. But so I think that the similarities in their games is that, one, they're both proven winners coming out of college.
Mhm.
CJ with Ohio State and Trevor with Clemson. I really, really did like watching Trevor at Clemson. Side note, hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you real quickly.
Okay.
When I first seen Trevor Lawrence in person, I did not think he was real. Like, he looks like, have you like, looking at
Wait, say it
Trevor
again.
Lawrence in person, he looks like he's like, I'm like, "Bro, is this
Oh,
a
like a
real
fake
person?"
person?
Yeah, I was like, "Is this a real person?" Like, he looks, I was like, if AI came to life, it would
Create a
be him. And
quarterback.
I'm
Yeah.
not taking no shot at him. I'm just like, bro, he's like perfect skin, perfect eyes, perfect hair,
Yep.
perfect. Like, everyone's like, bro, I know he was manufactured in the lab, but we think that about our men in Asar Thompson in the NBA too. We think they were manufactured in the lab, but I
Yeah.
digress. Both of them were proven winners coming out of college, and both of them were put into situations where it wasn't the best.
Mhm.
Jacksonville had to have that franchise type quarterback come in there under some adverse situations, and try to help rebuild that franchise, help restore that franchise. And it's the exact same way with CJ. CJ came into the league, and that's coming off of everything that went on with the legal and with the disconnection between the Texans and Deshaun Watson. You
Yep.
coming in, they hadn't won more than 4 games in a season. You're coming off of 1 year of David Culley, 1 year off of Lovey Smith, the whole
Mhm.
entire organization. So both of them were put into that type of situation. When I look at them coming in, and I look at them on the field, I think that both of them play pretty much the exact same way, which is a really good thing now that Cam Ward is in the AFC South as well. And if they can get Anthony Richardson back on track, I think that the AFC South will probably have some of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But
Mhm.
when I look at their similarities, on the field. One of the things that stands out to me the most is so CJ doesn't like to CJ takes chances, but he also protects the ball. And that's the one thing that I've noticed about Trevor Lawrence as well. He'll take a chance, but if he can, he'll protect the ball. I was watching some of the footage from some of the past games, and I will say this. I think it was even in the Texans' first game. A lot of times, those drops are hurting him. It's making it look like he's not doing something when it's really the receivers that are not executing. And so I look at both of them the exact same way. I think where it differs, and when it comes to those two, I think that for me, and I don't know Trevor Lawrence, and so I'm speaking strictly from a CJ Stroud standpoint. I know CJ Stroud wants to win. I know that CJ Stroud, has that certain type of moxie swagger and that certain type
Mhm.
of, if it comes down to it, I want the ball in my hands. I want to win this game. And so, win, lose, or draw, put the ball in my hands. Let me see what I can do. And that's where it stands out for me. But like I said, I don't know Trevor. I've never, I've only covered him when he comes to
Yep.
Houston. So maybe he's that same way on the other side.
It is a fair argument, and, when you're talking about the mindset piece of Trevor, and I think a lot of people this year going into the season thought Trevor, this is a make or break year for him
Yeah.
reputation-wise. We know the contract's gonna, he'll be here for a while, but I think what everybody really wanna see from Trevor Lawrence as a Jags fan is just the uptick in not playing reckless, because he already does that at some points,
Yeah.
but the competitive fire and stuff like that, and you've seen it throughout the season, which is really
Yeah.
cool to see, and I think he's more of a, like, just personality-wise you're talking about, like, he's more of just, like, a chill dude,
Mhm.
like, perfect for this area, like, surfer dude,
Yeah.
like, chills out, but Liam Cohen coming into the here, it was great having him come in, because him and on our defense, Coach Camp, like both are fiery guys, competitive
Mhm.
guys, and I think specifically Liam Cohen is drawing that out of Trevor. And Trevor, as you know, you're talking about CJ at the end of the game and things like that. Trevor Lawrence is a closer. Now he might make some really bad mistakes quarters 1 through 3, and the biggest difference that just I can put simply for you, CJ Stroud's a better decision maker and a more accurate passer.
Mhm.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think Trevor overall has more. I don't know if you would call it like superstar potential, but more just like big play potential. Whether that's with his run, with his legs, he makes some big time throws down the field too. Sometimes that you're like maybe 5 quarterbacks in the league can make.
Yeah.
But then he'll make a stupid throw where you're like, it's a 5 yard out and he misses them by a mile.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take with Trevor. We call it here the Trevor Lawrence experience. It's kind of like a roller coaster ride, so up and down of emotions. But I think if you can keep him in check within that first 3 quarters, by the end of the game, he'll win you some games. And you saw that
Yeah.
last week against the Raiders. You saw in
Yeah.
22 with all those comebacks. So he's like you said, he's developing kind of like what CJ is now. I think CJ might have had a little bit better offensive line with Laramie Tunzel, and he also had a better defense, and he had better weapons overall. And I think Trevor has I've always said this too, like Trevor's got no consistency in his game because there's no consistency in the organization, whether it's new offensive coordinators, head coaches, weapons aren't good enough, offensive line's not blocking. And like this year, I thought he's really played a lot better. The
Right.
issue is his offensive line after the first 4 games kind of stopped blocking, and
Yeah.
his receiver since day one hasn't caught the ball. I think BTJ dropped or leads the league in drops.
Mhm.
We have, even though our probably most consistent receiver, Parker Washington, who's played great in special teams as well, but he's dropping the ball a lot. We had De'Ami Brown, a free agent, dropping the ball a lot. So that's why when you said like Jacoby Myers, our new our trade that we just did today, that was a big key, just getting another big body receiver for Trevor
Yeah.
that can work inside and outside. But most importantly, when he gets the ball and hit him in his hands to
Yeah.
catch it, you know what I mean? Trevor's biggest thing is it looks worse than it is. I think national perception, and that's why I was kind of curious. You've seen him 2 times a year, what your thoughts were, because I think a lot of people give him a lot of a lot of crap. But if you really look at his game, like I think because of some of his misses are so bad,
Yeah.
that's why people are like, "Oh, that was a stupid mistake." Like the Raiders game was a perfect, um, thing that he has cut down on. His decision making has gotten a little bit better. He hasn't been turning the ball over nearly as much this year.
Mhm.
That Raiders one was kind of like reverting to what happened the last couple of years. But yeah, I think we in Jacksonville we mostly believe in Trevor Lawrence. There's it's kind of polarizing, but I think for
Yeah.
CJ Stroud. I think he's just like I said. I think he's a better decision maker, more accurate passer, and I think he
Yeah.
just has more built up around him from the beginning.
Well, so and I was gonna say that, and because I wrote down, I wrote down true potential. I don't think that we've seen CJ Stroud's full potential because when he
Same,
came
yeah.
in, when he came in his rookie year, he looked amazing, but he also had to play under a lot of adverse, situations as far as Nico Collins was out. Nico Collins missed a multiple games. Then he lost Tank Dell. He lost him multiple games. He was dealing with the different types of the offensive line and the way that they were playing. And then he was also, with the first year offensive coordinator. So they were together trying to figure this thing out. And so then you go into his second year, and now the offensive coordinator is not as good and not as surprising as he was the year prior.
Mhm.
But you look at the weapons around, like you said, you look at the weapons. They went out and they got running back Joe Mixon, who made the Pro Bowl. They went out and they got Nico. I mean, I'm sorry, they had Nico Collins, who made the Pro Bowl. But
They
they
brought Diggs
also,
in.
yeah, they brought Diggs in, and they got Tank Dell back. But I
Mhm.
think, if I'm not mistaken, that unit as a whole with CJ, Nico, Tank, and Stephon Diggs, I think they only played a combined 2 games together,
Right.
because you lose Nico for a couple of games, and then you lose Stephon Diggs. I think in week 6, 7, no, maybe 6 or 7, you lose him for the year. Then you
Mhm.
lose Nico comes back, so it's him and Tank, but then you lose Tank in week 16 to that horrific injury in Kansas City. All the while you have your franchise quarterback playing behind, which they ended up being the worst offensive line in the NFL. And so now you bring him in this year, his third year in the league, and he's on his second offensive coordinator, and you still have the same offensive line issues. 2 weeks ago, I asked D'Amico Ryans and I asked Nick Caley, the new offense coordinator. I said,
Mhm.
if Bobby was fired for an ineffective offense and not being able to get this offense to the full potential. You all fired him, but then you brought in, then you all come in, and this is when I was talking to Nick Caley. I said, then you come in, and we're still seeing the same issues and the same problems. Then what is the problem? I asked Bobby this same question last year over and over again. Hey, how come you all can't score in the second half? What is it? Why is the offense so ineffective? And so when I say all that to say that we haven't seen CJ's true potential, his full potential, because even in year 3, he's still dealing with a lot of the stuff he had to deal with as a rookie, and that doesn't seem to be getting better because you still have the same offensive line issues. When you go back and you watch the game against the 49ers a couple of weeks ago, that's when you'll see if CJ is protected. That's when that accuracy comes out.
Mhm.
That's when that decision making comes out. That's when that explosive plays down the field. So I'm just hoping that, you know, after this offseason, they'll be able to that Nick Casario can get him something in here that'll keep him, that you can finally see his true franchise quarterback potential.
100%. Yeah, we're speaking the same language here in Jacksonville with Trevor, and I think we're starting to slowly get that now. And I think the run game, this for us specifically, is a major part of our identity and really Trevor's success.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have that, we saw the last few games where we had to have him throw it 50 times a game. It's just
Yeah.
not ideal, and it's not who Liam Cohen is as an offensive coach. Bringing him in, and I think what you're talking about with the offensive coordinator, it's kind of where you like. I like D'Amico Ryans as a head
Mhm.
coach, and I think he's a good leader of men and kind of a CEO of a team. Like I'm cool with that, but you also have to realize too, like you fired your offensive coordinator, but when your offensive coordinator does well too in the league now, they get head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a fine line with that. You know what I mean? So I think we're both saying the same thing about both of our quarterbacks. I think both of them are yet to hit their peak potential. I think both of them, if they have enough time, like CJ's been running for his life this year, like what I've seen,
Yeah.
like it's been worse than last year, and they gave up, Laramie Tunzel. They didn't really do anything to help him up front. I like the rookie receivers, Higgins and Knoll, that you guys brought in.
Yeah.
I like that they're getting them more involved. But I just don't understand like what Casario was thinking with not investing anything up front. Because it's the most important thing. If anything, work backwards, build the offensive line on both sides. Really,
Yeah.
that we're struggling with that a little bit right now with our interior pass rush. But
And,
like,
and they're rotating left guards. I was like, who does that? You CJ can't get any consistency because one series is Juice Scruggs, the next series is Lakin Thomas. And it's like,
mhm,
okay, so how am I ever supposed to develop? And especially, and I mean, and you all know this as well down in Jacksonville. The one way to protect your franchise quarterback is to make sure that your interior is strong because there are a lot of good interior defensive linemen, not only in the NFL, but in the AFC South. And if you
right.
can't protect them, I don't understand what you're doing. It's like that should have been the first part. Hey, take care of the interior first.
Yeah, we've finally this year, I think we've had at least a stopgap with our center, Robert Hainsey, who's been like the unsung hero for us because our
Yeah.
center position the last few years have been awful. We couldn't run the ball up the middle at all because of it. Trevor couldn't step up into the pocket because of it. Now he still holds on to the ball too long at times, but like up front with your quarterback, I agree with you, especially in this division. You got to build up around him. But yeah, let's talk about maybe some keys to the game. So we're playing this Sunday. Um, what do you think? Let's start with the offensive side of the ball for Houston against us. What do you think is because we didn't really have we have one of the worst pass rushes in the league, which is surprising with Josh Hines, Allen, and
Yeah.
Trayvon Walker came back. He's been back with the cast a little bit the last
Mhm.
couple weeks, but against the Raiders that first half before he punched somebody in the head. He looked really good.
Yeah.
But I think having him back is going to be a big problem for you guys if he plays well with Josh. So, but up the middle, like what you're talking about, where you're struggling a little bit too, is we have Eric Armstead, but that's really it. We don't have. We're good against the run, I guess I can say, but against our pass rush in our secondary right now is really struggling.
It's going to be one of those things where this is the true test of what this Nick Caley offense could be. And it's how do you adjust to adversity if you don't have CJ, if you don't have Titus Howard? Because what it also does is, I don't know if you've paid attention to their offense a lot this year. They were running a lot of six lineman sets. And so they would bring in Blake Fisher as
Mhm.
a,
We're starting to do that at necessity right now too.
yeah. And
Which
so
is
they would,
actually leans into more of our identity, run the ball, but keep going, yeah.
yeah. Exactly. So they were bringing them in, and it was really helping, and they had started to develop a groove. But now Blake Fisher will probably have to start at right tackle because of Titus Howard being out. So now no CJ, no Titus Howard. You have you have your wide receivers. You still have Nico Collins. You still have tight end Dalton Schultz. Xavier Hutchinson has been playing very well this year. You still have former Jacksonville Jaguar Christian Kirk,
Mhm.
who played in his first game last week. And the one thing that that I'm hoping though is that Kaylee can use Jalen Noel a little bit more because he
But
used Christian Kirk a lot.
I was just gonna ask, because I really like Noel in the draft process, so I liked him and Higgins too, so why haven't they been playing Noel more in the slot? And if you just said too, because Kirk, I liked when he was here. I actually liked him a lot. He fell off a little bit because he's been injured, and then he had some drops towards the end, but I think Noel is. I mean, I've seen him in the kicking game. I've seen him when he does get his opportunity play well. So, like, is there a reason why he's not getting the amount of snaps?
Good,
Is that
good.
Kaylee or is it?
And that's where we as the local media here are baffled, and this is why we keep asking why aren't these guys getting more playing time. I'm gonna use some last night. The Houston Rockets played the Dallas Mavericks, and
Mhm.
Cooper Flag, the number one overall pick, was on the court. So Kevin Durant was asked, "Hey, how do you think that he could be a starting, point guard in this league?" And Kevin Durant said, "Hey, look, man, he's a young guy. Just throw him in there. It's good to throw those young guys in there,
Travis
see what
Hunter
they
is a
got."
great example of what we were preaching before he got hurt, and they were finally starting to give him enough snaps. We're like sick. Everybody here was sick of the whole ramp up period.
Yep,
We're just throw him out there. He's going to make mistakes, but he's going to learn and he's going to improve by being on the field because he's not getting that in practice time because he's
yeah,
limited playing both ways. So
and that's
100% on with you.
And so that's what I don't understand, because you watch how effective Noel was the week prior against the 49ers, and then you come back the next week and you only give him 6 routes. He didn't
Mhm.
get any targets. And you of course you use him on special teams, but he needs to be in the game, because, and this is no knock at Christian Kirk, but like
He's not as
Noel,
explosive. He's not as
yeah,
explosive. And this week for you guys, like Jordan Lewis is probably our best cornerback. He's
yeah,
out.
yeah,
So that's a big matchup I think you guys should look at if you do give, Noel enough snaps
yep.
against, we have Jerry and Jones who played well in man last year. He's been kind of the odd man out here in Jacksonville in the cornerback room, but I think you're going to see that as a big matchup in this game.
Yeah, and so it's all about how prepared can Nick Caley have Davis Mills to play in this game, and also use your weapons to your advantage. Because, like I said, with Noel and with Higgins, with the way that the Texans red zone offense has looked this year, I can't understand, how do you have three wide receivers that are 6'4" and above, in Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, and
Mhm.
Xavier Hutchinson, and then you have a 6'3" tight end, and you run no plays to box them out. Especially when you were talking about center, the little bit earlier, it gave me PTSD because I have to watch Jake Andrews, and that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why in Seattle they couldn't get 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, because they can't get any push off the line. People are
Welcome to the 2022 to 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars.
And
This
that's
year
why
has been the only difference that finally changed because we ran into the back of our center every play.
and that's what it looked like this past week against the Broncos, when you can't score in the red zone. You're right there. Why didn't you quarterback sneak? Because as soon as the ball is hiked, CJ is pretty much face to face with the defender. He doesn't even care about the man that's in front of him. So
Mhm.
with Kaylee has to have Davis Mills ready, and he has to realize, hey man, the season is on the line. So all this conservative stuff or whatever, hey, throw that out the window. You have to start doing whatever you need to do to win the game. Now, what about for you all on the offense side of the ball?
Yeah, for us, I think it's just keeping like I thought when we played you guys the first time we'd be able to run the ball because I forget who you played the game before. I think it was Tampa, and they ran Bucky Irving and Rashad White kind of ran it. I think pretty well against you.
Yeah,
And when you guys played us here, you shut down the run completely. It felt like it was probably one of the ugliest games I've ever watched. So
yeah,
offensively, for us offensively, the offensive line had a bounce back game. They need to stay consistent with that. They need to be able to create enough push, like we're talking about in the run game, to stay in these manageable third down, third and short, 3rd and 5, to be able to do what they want in the passing game. Because right now, we just talked about Jacoby Myers coming on board, but we were last week against the Raiders, we ended the game with Parker Washington and 2 practice squad guys that we signed that week and our third tight end.
wow.
So that was our receiving core.
Yeah,
When BTJ went out with an ankle injury, which I think he is going to play this week, but he's going to be limited. De'Ami Brown, our other receiver, he got a concussion. He won't be playing. So, and Brenton Strange, probably our like MVP, like most valuable player on offense. At tight end, he was playing great in the beginning. He's not coming back probably until the Chargers game.
yeah,
So we need to still fight through these injuries and continue to run the ball. I think you're going to still see a lot of 6-man, offensive fronts. We're going to mix it up maybe two running backs, but
yeah,
biggest thing is the running game. I can't preach it enough because it helps. The turnover or not turnover battle, but the time possession battle. Like we had, I think it was like something like 43 minutes of possession last week against the Raiders, and they had, I think, half of that. So if we can keep the ball, and we're not like afraid of Davis Mills, obviously, but I think it's going to be a very similar game that you guys when you came down here to play. I think it's gonna be a very physical game again. I think it's gonna be a dogfight. I don't see us scoring a ton of points, just because of how good your defense is. You guys, I think, have one of the best defenses in the league. So offensively, we gotta just keep keep in manageable distance running the ball, and then Trevor's got to be able to continue to use his legs and hopefully stay away from Aziz.
For
But
sure,
yeah, I
man.
think that offensively. I think defensively though, to against you guys, all we have to do is if Davis Mills gets any time, you guys should win the game
Yeah.
because we have no reason. Even last week, the Raiders didn't have a good offensive line, and
Mhm.
we really didn't get to him. Like Josh Allen, I think had a sack and a half towards the end of the game, but for
Yeah.
the first 3.5 quarters, he was non-existent. So
Yeah.
if you guys have any sort of time that we give Davis Mills, like there's no reason you guys can't put up points against us.
Yeah.
But I just think Trayvon Walker is probably like my player of the game on defense to come
Mhm.
in like and kind of wreck the show against
Yeah.
your backup right tackle as well.
Yeah.
I'd
And
keep an eye out for that.
yeah, the on the defense side of the ball for the Houston Texans, I mean, everybody who has watched the Houston Texans or seen clips or anything knows that, I mean, the Texans are loaded on the defense side of the ball.
Mhm.
And with the way that they play, with the mentality that they play with, and they take pride in the way that they play. And it's funny because even after they lose a game, and even after it's a one score battle, and they're keeping these teams from limiting their scoring opportunities when they're on the field. Because I mean, this past Sunday against the Broncos, I mean, it was the exact same way that they lost the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 2.
Mhm.
Quarterback gets out scrambled for a while, and then they score to win the game. They lose that one. I think it was a 22-20, if I'm not mistaken. But when you look at that defense, what makes them so good is when you have bookend edge rushers like Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, they put so much pressure on offensive linemen. And sometimes there's packages where they're next to each other. And I wouldn't want to be an offensive lineman
No.
coming up and be like, hey, you're supposed to be over there. You're not supposed to be in front of me. Why are
Yeah.
you in front of me? But those two make up for, they don't have the strongest defensive tackle rotation, but they have a lot of guys and older guys like a Sheldon Rankins, and then they have a Tim Settle Jr., then they have Tommy Two Guns, what we call Togiai,
Yep.
and now they got the Nico Autry back. So they rotate, they rotate these defensive tackles in and out, but these guys also have this same mentality that the edge rushers have. And
Yeah.
so, oh, go ahead.
Keep going. No, no, no. Keep going. Keep going.
No, because I was just gonna say that, so when you have that, and then you have Aziz, who is, by far one of the smartest middle linebackers in the league. He doesn't get enough credit for that, but he is very, very smart at what he does. And he's very smart in putting people in the positions and the places and where they need to be. And so when you have him, and then I mean, you got all pro Derek Stingley on one side, and then you got future all pro and Kamari Lassett. A lot of people don't realize is that they mirror each other so much that when offenses start devising, trying to get their number one wide receiver away from Derek Stingley Jr., you're running them right into
Yeah.
Derek Stingley. You running them right into, I would say Derek Stingley the third, but that's Kamari Lassiter. He has
Yeah.
his own identity. And the good thing about him is he's one of those guys that he's a D'Amico Ryans type guy. He can cover, but he's not afraid to hit. He's
To
not
come up.
afraid to
Yeah.
come up in the run game. And then on the back end with with Kalen Bullock, that as athletic as he is and as a ball hawk as he is. So, I say all that to say that defense, it moves as a unit, they think as a unit, and they're doing their best to make sure that they can get as many opportunities for the offensive side of the ball as they can. And they know coming into Jacksonville without CJ that they're going to have to take it up just a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. Where do you just real quick too? Do you
Mhm.
think there's a weakness in the defense of Houston that we could take advantage of. I think I was gonna say what I was gonna interrupt you saying earlier is your defensive tackles, which I thought was the weakness last time, played great against us. And I think that's really the matchup is that interior offensive line versus the
Yeah,
interior defensive line. I think if we have a good day, we can definitely move the ball and at least sustain drives. And it might end in field goals, but I think that's going to be the big matchup. And then I would like to get maybe if BTJ is healthy enough, maybe get him more in the slot against Petrie, even though I think Petrie's a good player.
yeah.
He's more of like that box, like kind of a combination box safety nickel. What do you think is like a weakness that Jacksonville, if they could exploit?
So here's the thing: the way to exploit that defense is something that Jacksonville doesn't have. You
Okay.
you you have to have one a wide receiver that's playing with confidence. And I know that sounds, bad when I'm talking about your number one wide receiver, but watching him this year, and one of the reasons why I've watched him so much is not just because he's in the AFC South, it's
Mhm.
because my wife has him on her fantasy football team. So
Yep.
I've watched him a lot. I've watched her be frustrated by the amount of passes he's dropped. And so I think that at the end of the year, he might need a reset, but it's hard to build confidence knowing that you're going up against Derek and you're going up
It's not the
against
week to do
Lamar.
it. Yeah, it's not
It,
the week
it's
to do it. He
it's
did
it's
play
not.
He did play, and he's played. We give him a lot of crap around here, but we just because of the drops and kind
Yeah,
of shying away across the middle sometimes. But
yeah,
he did in the last game that we played. He came up big at the end. I think last week, even though he only had like 3 catches, there were like big catches for us too. And that especially towards the end of the game, I thought he played with a lot of confidence, and you could see more of the effort I think from him after the catch, which you saw a little bit, but he's more of a laid back guy, another one of these laid back guys. But you saw, I think, the competitiveness kind of come out of him. So I think if BTJ can somehow figure out a way to, get some separation, I think he could have a big game, especially like I said, if you put him in the slot, I think it might help.
yeah.
Um,
And
what-
but if you put him in a slot, though, I mean, it just depends on how much is he ready to hand wrestle because Petrie's
Mhm.
physical. Petrie may
Right.
not be the best cover safety slash nickel corner that they have out there, but
Mhm.
he's physical and he'll hand wrestle you. And if they, run short, he's going to hit you and he's going to keep hitting you to the point where he's going to say, you're going to have to beat me. And if you don't beat me, I'm going to keep hitting you. And over time, you're not going to want to take those hits. But the reason why I said, with BTJ, I'm saying that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Brian Thomas Jr., BTJ.
yep. I just want to make sure that I didn't, disrespect him by getting his name wrong. But he's gonna have to play like JSN did, Jackson Smith and Jigba did for Seattle, and they would have to scheme him open. In order to scheme him,
This is what I was gonna say. Liam
yeah,
Cohen got a little bit more creative. He's been very predictable, and so
yeah,
haven't we been on defensively. But
yeah.
I think Liam Cohen did a great job last week being more unpredictable, a lot more different formations, different personnel that you didn't see before. I think he's got to keep that kind of trend going against a tough Texans team too.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, right up to your point.
to scheme him open though, to scheme your wide receiver open, you're
Exactly.
also going to have an effective running game. You're going to have to
Mhm.
have a running back that they're going to say, "Hey, you're going to have to prove it." Like you're going to have to prove to us that you're going to run the ball, that you're committed to run the ball, and then you'll be able to, to beat us here, maybe beat us there. But the one thing, and I don't know who your tight end is, and
So
but
right now it's a banged up Hunter Long at tight end, and
yeah,
Johnny Munn. But yeah, it's not much.
because in order to beat that Texans defense, if you can get the linebackers matched up on, a a good catching running back or a good wide receiver. If you watch what Denver did last week, they got their running
Harvey.
back on Henry Toa and
Mhm.
they beat him on the wheel route for a touchdown. And Henry is a good Henry can cover, but that's a hard ask for him to be able to cover a running back who
Downfield.
can catch like that and has that type of speed. And so
Yeah.
his best attribute is getting to the ball, swarming to the ball, and he'll make some plays. But if he gets matched up, so I don't think that Jacksonville has that in order to beat that defense.
I'll combat it a little bit.
Mhm.
I think we do. I think ETN and Bashaw too, and our rookie running back can do that. However, I do think your linebackers are too rangy. I think Aziz is probably one of the most rangy linebackers in the league, and I think yeah, if we can somehow match up against Toa Toa,
Yeah.
I'm
Yep,
scared to
that's
say
it.
his
That's
name
right.
too.
Toa
I
and
think he's a good
EJ
player
Speed.
too. But yeah, so let's wrap up on this though. So I
Okay.
want you to we're gonna do a little prediction, magic, crystal ball. We're gonna give out a prediction for offensive player of the game for each team for your team, and then a defensive player a prediction for your team, and then also a score prediction.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, and I'll end with the Jags.
All right. So offense,
Offensive player. We'll go back
the
and forth.
offensive player of the game is going to be Nico Collins because I think that they're going to have a concerted effort to get him the ball. I think that they know that in order for that offense to go the way that it needs to go, and also you remember Nico and Davis, they have they played together before, and so all it's
Mhm.
going to take is for them to practice and get themselves back in rhythm. To be able to get him the ball to where he knows. Davis knows that if no other thing, I know where Nico wants the ball. I know where Nico's going to be on the field. And when you're looking for your number one wide receiver like that and you feed him the ball, that opens up everything else for other people. And especially when you said that you all will be without Jordan Lewis this week,
Mhm.
who probably would have been matched up on,
I know.
matched up on Nico. So no Jordan Lewis, no Travis Hunter.
Yep.
Because he probably would have gotten matched up on him as well. And so they're going to feed
Mhm.
Nico a lot. So I can see him being the offensive player. The
Yeah, and
defensive. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
he played pretty good against us too. For my offensive player, I wouldn't really give it to a player. I don't think. I think it's gonna be more of a collective effort. I think the offensive line as a whole is
Mhm.
really the position group, and you could say that against every game, I guess, but especially against this Texans team. The interior offensive lines really got to get a consistent push off the last disappointing game that we had last time against you guys in the run game, and then offensive line in the sense of stopping the pass rush against Daniil Hunter and Anderson too. So that's the biggest thing for us. If Trevor just doesn't turn the ball over and hits his easy layup throws, I think we can move the ball if we do those first couple things. Defense, who you got for defensive player?
Kamara Lassiter. And I
Okay.
think that Kamara Lassiter is having a Pro Bowl type season. I don't know if he's having an all pro type season just yet. He's definitely striving for it. He's playing with a huge chip on his shoulder. He felt like he didn't get and a lot of his teammates
Recognition.
felt that same way. He didn't get the recognition that he should have gotten as a rookie with the way that he played and the way that he played late in the season as well. And so he has a point to prove. And if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, I'm like, look, I just don't want to test Derek like that just yet. I don't. Let me see if I can get something going over here against Kamari. And he's one of those guys where the more you test him, the more pissed off he gets and the
Yeah.
better that he plays. So I got him. And to be honest with you, I think that he's going to have 2 interceptions this week.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for we didn't touch on it for Jacksonville. Our takeaways this year, we had
Mhm.
so many in the beginning that masked so many inefficiencies on this team. So if we
Yeah.
had one takeaway last week, we just need to stay consistent taking the ball away. I think against a backup quarterback, you would assume, especially against a poor offensive line at times, like a strip sack or maybe a force interception, something like that. We really have to come up big. Somebody does. I think Trayvon Walker is probably the matchup. Him against that right. Who is again the right
Blake
tackle?
Fisher. Blake
Fisher.
Fisher.
Yeah, that I would keep your eye on that matchup the whole game,
Yeah.
because Trayvon is back to being healthy. If he should dominate, if he wants to get paid, it's in a contract year, mind you. If he
Oh
wants to get
wow.
paid, he's got to have 1 or 2 sacks against that guy this week.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion, but I think it should happen too. All right. Prediction for the game. So how do you think the game's going to go? And give me a score.
I think that the Texans offense is going to struggle early because of the continuity that they have to build in game time situation. It's easy to do it in training camp. It's easy to do it during the week, but to get out there and play in that game speed, I think it's going to take Davis maybe one or two drives to get himself to fully know, hey, look, I am the starter. This is my offense for the day. I mean, look, CJ not here. He let me drive the car for this week. Know how it was when your mom gave you the keys to the car. She
Yeah.
let you use the car. You roll the window down, you floss it, and so he's going to be able to drive the car this week. So, but I think that they get on track and they start to feed Nico more, and that gets the offense going. And so I got the Texans winning 24-21 with a late field goal by Kaimi Fairbairn to win the game. He has been kicking very well, and I also think that like one of the reasons why I picked Nico, it's kind of like a revenge game for him because he fumbled the last time
Mhm.
you all played, and that was on his second fumble in his career. And so I could see them getting winning this type of game the way that they lost. But here's the caveat to that, to my score prediction. I do believe that Jalen Noel will get his first special teams touchdown this week.
I was just gonna say, I think the kicking game is gonna be very important this week, and we did in the kickoff return at least give up a couple big plays against the Raiders last week. Now our kicker has been
Yeah,
struggling, but made a NFL record 68-yard field goal, which is
yeah, I
great.
seen that.
So it made a 70-yard one in preseason. So we're trending in the right direction with him.
Aubrey would be mad up in Dallas.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I do think the Texans get a special team. That's a good call. I do think they're gonna score in weird ways. I think the Jags are gonna. This is a game they should win if they're a good team. Right now, I think they're an average team to a slightly above average. I think they're banged up still. I think a lot of the injuries. I don't know if Devin Lloyd's gonna go. If he does, that would be a big bonus for us. But he might not go. Strange is going to be out still. Receivers are banged up too. So I see you guys getting maybe one score on special teams and maybe even one score on defense, like maybe like a pick six or something like that. I see you guys winning 23-21
Wow.
against us. But I also think that late kick in the game too. I think we're going to be leading, and I think you guys are going to come down and probably kick a field goal to win it. Um, but yeah, I think you guys are too tough on defense for us to kind of. We hope if we can run the ball, I think we should be able to put drives together and keep it far enough. But I think turnovers in this game, the kicking game, and yeah, I just think if I don't have a good feeling about this one.
Yeah.
I don't. We should win it hands down, but I don't see that happen. I think Houston's gonna have their backs against the wall and really play us tough.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a good one, man. And it's always, a lot of people don't realize this. It doesn't matter who's on the field. It's a divisional rival, a
Mhm.
divisional rival game, and both teams always play each other tough. So
Yeah,
it should be easy.
it's going to be a week to week league. I think for not only, I mean, that's what it is in general, but I think a week to week league season
Yeah.
for everybody in this division except for Tennessee. I think the Colts got off to a hot start, but I think the second half their schedule gets tougher. How's just real quick before we head out? How's the schedule look for you guys in the second half? Is it getting harder, or do you think it's getting softer?
So, and that's why losing last week was such a tough pill to swallow for the Texans, was because um they felt like in their mind, and, of course, with CJ Stroud, they felt like they had three winnable games at home. The
Hmm.
49ers, they knew that the Broncos was going to be tough, but they felt like they could beat the Broncos, felt like
Hmm.
they could beat Jacksonville. They felt like they could go up to Tennessee and beat Tennessee, get them back in, get them back on track. But this is where it gets difficult because coming out of that last game against Tennessee, they
Yep.
have 3 really tough games against they played the Bills, the Colts, and they played the Bills, the Colts, and the Chiefs in a 3-week stretch. And
Yeah, so
so
you
if
guys are
they
gonna
drop
be fighting for it. This is a big game for you guys this week
yeah,
then. You gotta
and
this is kind
it
of a must win to keep the
yeah,
train on the tracks, yeah.
sure, and if it's no CJ Stroud, I mean, every time no CJ Stroud on the field, your chances and the probability of you winning drops. But like I said, with the defense which has kept them in games, it's just one of those things where it they it's gonna be hard for them. It's gonna be hard for them because that 3-week stretch, is with the way that they've been playing inconsistent as far as the offensive side of the ball, you
Mhm.
don't see them coming out of that 2-1, 3-0, at
Yeah.
best 1-2. They probably could beat the Colts, but it's gonna be hard to beat the Bills, and it's gonna be hard to beat the Chiefs, and especially a Chiefs team who's also scratching and clawing to try to stay in the playoff race.
Yeah, they're gonna figure out a way towards the end of the season, but I appreciate it, Sarge. Thank you so much for jumping on. Definitely gotta do this again. I'm
Sure.
sad that we only had, we already played you guys, so we can't do it again, but,
Yeah,
next season for sure, we gotta do this.
sure.
I appreciate
All
you
right.
hopping on.
Thank you for
Um,
having me, man.
absolutely. Guys, if you have anything, go check out his, what's your handle on Twitter?
Okay, so
What's all your
Connor,
stuff? Just play real quick.
it's a whole thing that I do, Connor. So
Okay.
just brace
Go.
for it. You ready?
All right.
All right. You can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports, the Z at the end. You can follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end, because we do everything for the gram. And make sure you subscribe to the Texans Tailgate Talk YouTube channel, all one word, Texans Tailgate Talk.
Awesome, man. I gotta get my outros like yours. That was really good. I gotta pick up my game. All right, y'all. Well, Thanks for joining us. This is the first episode of Duval versus Yall. We're gonna be doing it next week too against the Chargers. So tune in for that for Happy Hour Sports. Peace.